Good morning, Juventini, and welcome to the All Juve cast. I am your guest host today, Juventino Lou. Alberto had some technical issues, so I had to fill in. I'm on a little bit of lack of sleep, but I got my main man Raf making his return to the All Juve cast here with me to help me out, keep me awake, and get into the match that was Juventus versus Lazio, which was a big 3 points for us, and hopefully big implications on the top four race. Raf, how you doing?
I'm good, man. It's been a long time since I've been on this pod, man. But
I know it's been a
man.
long time coming, brother. It's good to see
Yeah,
you.
good to be back. Good to be back.
Yeah, real quick, we already got someone in the comments. Good morning, Bob. Thank you
What's
for joining
happening?
us this morning. And yeah, let's get into it. Let's get some house cleaning stuff real quick for people listening to the audio version. Head over to the YouTube. Please hit the subscribe button. It's, really important. If you subscribe, like, share, tell your friends that aren't Juve fans to tune in. Anyone you know, tell your mother, your grandmother, everyone, tune in, help support the channel, like and subscribe. And also a friendly reminder, the alljuvecast.com has launched a website where we are writing articles, some Juventus related, some Serie A related. I just wrote one on Pavel Nedved. There's a great group of writers there who are putting a lot of hard work and time and effort into, bringing stories about Juventus out. So please go check that out on the alljuvecast.com website. And also, while you're there, head over to Striped Hearts apparel. Literally some of my favorite football clothing. It's the best in the business, comfortable. The material's great. I have an Azzurri hoodie that I wear everywhere from there. So if you get a chance, go to Stripe Hearts. Check out the apparel. There's a little something for everyone in there. All right, guys. So we'll get into the match real quick. So this was a very important match coming off the international break. A little tough start getting Lazio, team that, been up and down in form, but someone that, we need to beat. We were below them in the table. So this was an important match. And real quick, we'll get into the starting lineups here. We had, looked like a traditional 4-4-2 when it was announced. We had Szczesny, we had Danilo, Bonucci, De Ligt, Pellegrini, Quadrado, McKinney, Locatelli, Rabiot, Morata, and Chiesa. Raf, what were your thoughts when you saw that real quick?
I don't know. It was the same as kind of like the hybrid we've been playing last season, which is kind of frustrating because it's like that was a huge problem that we had last year in terms of like how we were always complaining about the lineup being this 3-5-2, 4-4-2 hybrid. But with the injuries that we had, it was kind of like I just had to accept it because I didn't really know what else like we were gonna play. But that really quickly switched to 4-3-3 because of Danilo's injury. So we brought on Kulusevski and then Quadrado dropped to right back. And from the first like 10 or 15 minutes that we were playing that, it was a bit rough. Like Lazio had quite a bit of possession. It was really difficult for us to build. But as soon as we switched to the 4-3-3 when Danilo got injured, we looked so much more comfortable. So I don't know. I feel like I'd like to see the 4-3-3 moving forwards.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was, when I saw the lineup, I was a little concerned because, as we know, with the 4-4-2, Rabiot down the left has been kind of, hit or miss depending on the match. It's a weird transition for him playing almost like as a flat left winger, right? And so that was kind of a note. But, as you mentioned, as the game went on, it went to more of a 4-3-3, which, I think is more balanced for us. And we'll get into that as the show goes on the formation and, what's best for us. The other note was Pellegrini, not necessarily because, I wasn't surprised that he was starting. It's just, you see that in the lineup. We haven't seen very much from him. We've seen some cameos here and there, but from the start, we've only seen, I think he started the Napoli game. So I was curious to see how he would do tonight going forward. So we get into the match, and, the match was kind of slow to start, right? Would you say, Raf?
Yeah, it was really slow.
There was the Danilo injury, which was unfortunate, but they're saying it's an abductor and not a, not a knee injury, which is good. And then we go right to the penalty, which is Morata, he struggled a little bit in the first half, but he made a really, really good run. And Raf, what was your thoughts on the PK there?
It was a clear penalty, but it was just really funny how he kind of just won the penalty because Morata has a terrible first touch. And it was like, even watching that in full speed, I was like, oh, he won the ball. As it slowed down, you just realize that Morata touches the ball into the ground, it bubbles up, and then I can't remember who tackled him, but he just kind of followed through and got Morata. It was a clear penalty, but it was just hilarious. It was just like, it's just funny.
Yeah,
It came out of nowhere.
his first touch was really poor, and then the guy just kind of runs right through him. But
Yeah,
hey,
but hey, I'm taking it. Whether it was intentional or not, I'm taking the penalty, man.
these days I'll take anything. So Bonucci steps up, he takes the penalty, he smashes it right in the back of the goal. Perfect penalty. If Bonucci took them for the Azzurri, maybe that would have been a little bit better, but we don't want to get into that too much.
Still
But
pains me.
still, it was good to see. We got the lead. The rest of the first half, not really much in it. A few moments here and there, but nothing super concrete. Raf, what were your first half thoughts?
It was quite a dry first half. We had that one kind of half chance where I think Cuadrado he crossed the ball into Morata, and he did that scissor kick volley over the crossbar, which I was just like, why? But yeah, the first half was dry, but it was comfortable after we switched to the 4-3-3. Nothing really, came out of it. My takeaway from our system is that we look really comfortable from Szczesny up until Locatelli. As soon as Locatelli plays that ball forward, it's just kind of like Chiesa and just a bunch of kids, which is really frustrating. But I don't know. I feel like judging off the first half, I mean, we did what we had to do. Lazio couldn't get past us. We set up really well at the back, but it's just kind of like going forward. We just need to see more. Like, we have talented players, but we just can't seem to create much in open play. But we'll see. Hopefully that changes come the mercato, and then maybe next summer once we actually reinforce. But it's just kind of it's the same old Allegri as when we left. But as long as we get the 3 points, like, who really cares?
Yeah, I think that this was kind of a I don't want to say vintage Allegri, but it was kind of sort of that park the bus, suck the game out, suck it dry, because Juventus they're down a couple players. They're not at the skill level they once were, right at their heights. So just kind of get the 3 points. The penalty was obviously an added bonus because we didn't really create a ton. I did think though the first half Juventus did a really good job of making quick passes, getting deep in the corners after Lazio collapsed their back four, which they're notorious for doing. And I thought that was in our tactical breakdown that Alberto does before the match. It was awesome, by the way, and it was good in the first half, and they executed that properly, and they caused some problems. It led to the goal. So it was good, but it was good for what we needed, I guess is the word for it. I'm trying to say something positive about it. It was good for what we needed. We got a goal. It was a good start, and it was good heading into the second half. Do you have anything else to add there, Raf?
No, I think that pretty much covers the first half. It was kind of dry. There's not much to cover.
All right. So we get to the second half and go right into the penalty, which is Chiesa takes a great touch around Pepe Reina. And Reina just completely takes him straight out, which, I don't know, Raf, what did you think about Reina's challenge there? Did you think a little blatant, right?
It was a clear penalty. It was clear.
Yeah.
It was a stupid decision to come off his line in the first place. Like, Chiesa was nowhere near the goal. I think someone else was around to cover. I don't know why he rushed that far out, but it was a clear penalty.
Yeah, it was definitely a penalty. It was just that for someone who's so experienced, it was weird that Reina just came out like that and then got so embarrassed.
Yeah, I don't know. But before that, with all despite how bad he was yesterday, I have to give respect to Kulusevski for playing that initial ball into Chiesa. It was a good find.
Yes, that is a very good point. I almost forgot about that. Kulusevski played one of the best passes I've ever seen him play. Maybe in a Juventus shirt. It was ridiculous. And Chiesa was such a pest in the second half. He created so many issues. Raf before the show mentioned Bonucci stepped up and he took this and smashed into the top. Was it in the top corner? Maybe.
I think it was the right. I'm not sure if it was the top corner, but
Yeah.
he smashed it to the right. That's all I know.
Straight into the right. It
Yeah.
was beautiful penalty. Again, Bonucci on the double, which is a little weird. But Raf mentioned beforehand that maybe Chiesa should have taken it because he kind of deserved a goal today.
Yeah, I heard even watching the game, apparently Chiesa did actually ask to take the penalty, which I feel is fair. I mean, he did all the hard work to get there. It was a clear goal up until Reina came and tackled him, which was a smart move on his part because it was a clear goal scoring opportunity for Chiesa. It would have been 2-0 anyways. So you might as well gamble and take the penalty and risk saving it. But I feel like I really wish, as a captain, if your player asks, yeah, can I take it? I mean, at least give it to him, especially after doing all the hard work. I mean, he deserved the goal yesterday after the performance that he put in. He was easily our best outfield player yesterday. So
Yeah.
I wish he would have taken it, but Bonucci scored it, so I'm not going to complain and say, oh, like, why didn't he give it to him? But I personally, for me and for Chiesa, I just wish he would have taken it to score because he deserved it.
Yeah, I really like the initiative to be like, hey, I want to take this penalty, right? Knowing that Juventus need 3 points and that they're up 1-0. I do agree with Tony though. I think that obviously Bonucci being the captain, level head, was like, let me have this. I've never actually seen Chiesa take a penalty, so that would have been curious to see myself. But
yeah,
it's the right call at the end. We got the goal. It is what it is. And then we move forward. So Juventus, solid 3 points, ended 2-0. We got 2 goals, which we haven't seen in a long, long time. Some closing things.
Clean sheet, importantly, as well.
And before we get to the man of the match, there were some good performances yesterday. I thought that in the second half, like you mentioned before, the 4-4-2 changed a little bit to a 4-3-3. It got a little bit more dynamic. It gave us the extra man in midfield. There's some good passages of play on the counter. Not a great performance, but it did the job, which was good. So now we're going to get to the man of the match presented by Striped Hearts. Raf, who's your man of the match?
For me, easily 100% Chiesa. But if anyone were to say Bonucci, I wouldn't disagree. But purely off just performance on the pitch, aside from the goals, Chiesa was easily he was running everything yesterday, and it was a real shame that he didn't get his goal or assist that he could have got if Kulusevski fluff his lines. But for me, Chiesa, 100%.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to give it, just to be different, I'm going to give it slightly to Bonucci for the goals. But Chiesa was a menace in the second half.
Yeah,
he was tremendous. I also think, and this pains me to say, but Rabiot had a very good game. He was definitely not man of the match, but he had a very, very good.
No, he was good.
He
was good.
And I think De Ligt had a really good game at the back as well. So I think
as usual,
those two are also good shouts for who the man of the match was. But yeah,
Locatelli was real comfortable in the midfield. He kept Milinkovic-Savic and Luis Alberto at bay yesterday. He bust that midfield.
Yeah, I agree with that. The midfield in general was pretty solid yesterday. No real complaints from me there. And Tony with a shout out here for Cuadrado as he had to switch to right back. That's a very good shout. It's not very easy for him to have to step in there in the middle of a game like that after so much time off. Good shout, Anthony. So we'll get to some topics right here. And I think the big one, for this game, before the formation, we're going right down to, the players. Kulusevski. Kulusevski is a weird one for Juventini. I think there's a portion of Juventini, myself included, who know this guy's a good player, right? But don't know what to do with him. It feels like we've never really got the best out of him. And there's been some shouts on Twitter, hey, maybe he needs more minutes. Take someone like Pellegrini, for example, gets some minutes here and there despite his errors. Maybe it's positionally. Raf, what's your assessment of Kulusevski and why Juventus have not been able to get the best out of him? And what should we do to get the best out of him?
I have no idea. I mean, he was a player signed for Sarri and never got to play under Sarri, which is just frustrating. So we've kind of just had 2 managers that have had to make do what they have again. And it's like, I don't know, it's frustrating because even when he plays in his best positions, everyone would assume that he's best as a right winger in a 4-3-3 as he played in at Parma. But even like yesterday, I mean, he was playing in that position. He was getting into dangerous positions and just fluffing his lines all the time. And those things aren't down to tactics; it's just down to purely the player. And I mean, yeah, like as I think saying like, age always comes as an argument, but at the age of 21, you shouldn't have to keep hoping, oh, in the future, in the future. I mean, you're a first team player at your age for a reason. I mean, you need to show it. I mean, it's not all down to the manager misusing him. He played in his position yesterday, and he was terrible aside from the one pass into Chiesa. I think he missed. There were two golden opportunities that he had. One where Chiesa ran the full length of the pitch, beating like 2, 3, 4 players, played it into Kulusevski. That all he had to do was cut in and shoot or just lay it off for someone. He got caught under his feet and ended up losing the ball. I think a similar thing happened later where he could have scored himself, or I can't remember clearly, but it was a similar situation. And again, just indecisive in the final third, which is really frustrating. Like for 45 million, you need to show something. We can't keep hoping and hoping that you show something for the future. We had that with De Ligt when he first joined. He was rough in the first few months, but he grew into it instantly. That's the type of thing we're expecting. We're Juventus, we're not a Sassuolo that can give you time. At this level, you need to hit the ground running from the get-go. And it's been over a year, and we still haven't seen what we saw at Parma, which is frustrating.
Yeah, I agree. It's a really weird one because I felt like at the end of last year, I thought we were getting maybe what we could get out of Kulusevski. We were starting to see it, right? There's some really good performances. I think back to the Inter match where he marked Brozovic out of games. The Coppa Italia, he was great. He scored a rocket of a goal and got an assist. But this year, just there hasn't been really anything. I mean, from start to finish, even as a cameo, other than the Torino game, he hasn't really played very well. He got the goal against Zenit, but it's just most of it's been really poor. I think that there's a good point about how he was a Sarri player. Kulusevski was brought in to play under Sarri. Pirlo tried to use him the best he could. Allegri just looks like he doesn't want anything to do with him. Allegri just looks at him like he doesn't know what to do with him, which is something. But I think it needs to be said. Like you mentioned, De Ligt, some of these players, they struggled when they started. Chiesa even had a rough start when he started. He sent off in his first match, but they power through and they seem to figure it out. I think that I look at Kulusevski and wonder what his mentality is. What does he do differently? Because he's still very slow. He doesn't look like he's put any weight on. He doesn't look like he's lost any weight. He didn't really change anything from this year to last year. And I wonder if just mentally, maybe he's just not fit for a big club. It's a shame because there's talent there. And sometimes, just to be honest, sometimes players just aren't fits. I mean, how many times players, they go to clubs and they're just not fits for whatever reason. So I don't know. I think that, the price tag we paid, what was it? Over
45 million, bro.
5 million for him it's rough. I think we definitely overpaid in hindsight. I get why they did it at the time, but Paratici probably not one of his better ones to say. But if they can break even on that, if they can get some of that money back, I think there's still a good player you could flip in January. And I think Juventus should look at that, in my opinion.
I mean, apparently he's wanted by Conte at Tottenham, and Conte did want him for Inter Milan. So maybe if he goes there, he can find something. I mean, if Conte has wanted them for 2 different clubs now, it shows he's not a bad player, but he probably just isn't fit for us at the moment. So if we can flip him for about 30-something million and put that towards a Vlahovic or something, or even another winger to replace him, like I wouldn't be too disappointed. But I don't know. I just don't feel like he's one of our players.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like regardless of whether you think the kid is bright, promising, it just might be a time to clean break. No hard feelings. Probably best for both parties. Real quick, Pellegrini. Again, another young player that we're kind of up in the air on. What are your thoughts on Lorenzo Pellegrini and his performances so far? Luca Pellegrini.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I feel like yesterday I didn't see much to convince me. A lot of the times, like when he was in defensive, he seems to kind of panic and just kind of boot the ball clear, or just not show much composure. Going forward, he doesn't offer much, and I just kind of feel like a lot of people kind of seem to overrate his performances purely because of how bad Alexandra can be for the most part. I don't think there's much there to suggest he'll be a starter for us going forwards. But if he can come in like for games to replace our injured left back and play like that, like I wouldn't be disappointed. I mean, he's not on high wages. He's not on, he's not expecting to be a starter. So if we can keep him around just to kind of fill some boots here and there, like I wouldn't be disappointed. But I don't see much from him to suggest that we're gonna have our left back sorted for the next 10 years. I mean, even the teams that are interested in him, they're not top teams. We have a team from, was it Turkey or something going in for him? And it's like, yeah, I'm not too convinced.
Yeah, real quick, Tony agrees with you. I agree with you. Al, I also wish it was Lorenzo, but that's a conversation for another day. But it just Luca Pellegrini, he's just not Juve material traditionally. He's useful, like you said, in the pinch, like he was yesterday. But I expect him maybe to go out on loan in January, or if he makes the year, probably be sold in the summer. I mean, you never know. It depends on what our health situation is. But our board, they make questionable decisions sometimes, so you can never rule anything out with them.
We'll never forget that this is the guy we swapped for Spinazzola, man.
Yeah, just twist the knife right in. Right?
That just hurts, bro.
Right in. Yeah,
that hurts.
It really does. It just, all right. Enough with Spinazzola. Okay, on to the formation, because this is a big topic of debate. I was actually thinking about touching on this in an article coming up. But, the 4-4-2 has kind of been Allegri's mainstay this year. And I think, in my opinion, at least part of that is because he really doesn't trust his players. I think that there's holes in his team and he doesn't really know what to do. But also part of it is just Allegri being very, very overly pragmatic and, going into that 4-4-2 formation. Raf, what's your thoughts on the 4-4-2 first and foremost, on how it's played out? And if you could change it, what would you change it to? We kind of touched on that a little bit before, but kind of give me your thoughts on the formation and what's the best thing to do with this team.
I'm not too sure. I feel like when we've played the 4-4-2 and we've kind of had Bernardeschi in there with Kiers on the other flank and then Dybala partnering a number 9, I haven't minded it. It's not bad. My only issue is the midfield. We don't have many midfielders that can comfortably play in a pivot. I think McKennie has done so here and there, but he also is a player that loves to venture forward. And I feel like that's more suited to him being in a 3 than in a 2. So I'm not sure. I feel like, judging off yesterday's game, I want to see the 4-3-3 play out a bit more frequently, considering how well we kind of handled the game in the second half, especially. And especially when Ken came on for Morata in the second half and we managed to really stretch the teams. Ken had at least like 2 or 3 opportunities where he was just running at the team. Chiesa was stretching them. There was a lot of golden opportunities coming in, especially on counter-attacks. And I feel like with Dybala's injury, I think Kulusevski will be a decent fit on the right wing, because I'm not too much of a fan on Dybala playing out wide. So either the 4-3-3 with Dybala's injury, or maybe a 4-2-3-1 with Dybala just in behind and maybe supporting the midfield a tiny bit, considering that we have McKennie, who seems to solidified his spot in the midfield. He's probably a bit adventurous and maybe have someone in there just to kind of cover up for him. So either 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 going forward. For now, I don't feel like this team has a system that will be able to accommodate everyone perfectly. I mean, it's a team that's kind of been thrown together over the last few years with 3 different managers. So there's not much foundation to build on. We just kind of have to find a formation that we can deal with until the next transfer market or 2, and then start to decide on what our main system should be.
Yeah, and please, everyone who's listening, join in the comments. Let us know what your thoughts are on the formation, what you would do, who you would start, all of that. I think for me, the hard thing with the 4-3-3 is who's your third midfielder? Because, yes, Rabiot played really, really well yesterday, but can we get that consistently, right? And then kind of with Arthur, who's, Arthur's a weird player, very good on the ball, doesn't give you a ton defensively, isn't great in the final third per se. So what do you do there? I think that part of the reason we keep seeing the 4-4-2 at least is that Allegri just doesn't know what to do with that third midfield spot. I thought that in the Zenit game, at least, Bernardeschi looked really good when he played as sort of like a left center mid, right? And they switched from a 4-4-2 to a 4-4-3 throughout the game. It gave us balance, but I don't know if that's like a long-term solution because, Bernardeschi isn't really a center midfielder.
It never is, especially with Bernardeschi. You can't rely on him that much.
Yeah, and the 4-2-3-1, I really like the 4-2-3-1, but I worry about Dybala in that number 10 role. I just worry about, in a game where Locatelli and McKennie get overrun, which could happen. I think McKennie's been very good, but he's not an incredible double pivot, right? But he's been very good this year. I worry if we get overrun, we'll lose Dybala in some of those matches. But the 4-2-3-1 probably could unlock Chiesa a little bit better than, what we're doing now. It's an interesting debate. I don't know if there's one I prefer over the other. I think maybe I'll lean towards the 4-2-3-1 for now because I don't think we have a third center mid. But I don't know. Is there one that you prefer over the other, Raf?
No, there hasn't been a formation that I've kind of wanted the team to play. Oh, actually, I had one formation that I've been calling for quite a while, actually, which I forgot to say. It was the 3-4-3, where we kind of play Dybala and Chiesa just off Morata in the middle. We play a pivot somewhere with Cuadrado and Sandro Pellegrini on the other side, with the back four of De Ligt, Bonucci, and Danilo, which I feel like I kind of prefer it simply because we get Chiesa a bit closer to goal. We get Dybala, who can kind of fit in a position where he's not, being wasted out wide, and he can be like a bit more central in the half spaces and whatnot. The 4-3, yeah. So the 3-4-3 is something that I've been campaigning for quite a while. So maybe we can see that. I feel like we might be getting a bit closer to it, considering we switched to a 3 at the back yesterday. And I think the only reason we kind of played with 2 forwards was simply because Dybala was injured, and we had to kind of fit someone to partner Morata up top. So I'm hoping we can see that coming forwards.
Yeah, I agree. And John brought up a really good point there about the 3-5-2 or a back three. To piggyback off of your point, Raph, I think that we are seeing it. Something that Allegri touched on in his post-match press conference, or his preseason press conference, was that he was, maybe one day we'll play the back three. Some players have to learn it, but we could do it. I'm surprised we haven't seen it more yet, but that could just be, we've had a lot of injuries, tight schedule. That might be part of it. Do you think that part of the reason that we're stuck with the 4-4-2 is down to Allegri and maybe his tactics? Like, what's your assessment of Max and how he's managed that formation? And is it more of just a personnel thing?
I feel like it is, because we've seen variations of the 4-4-2. We've kind of seen with Rabiot out left. We've seen with Bernardeschi out left, where it's just a flat 4-4-2. So I just genuinely feel like it's just so, like, because it's been so inconsistent with this kind of players. We've had to play Chiesa as a number 9 for so many games this season. There's kind of like this Griezmann experiment where a winger can play as a number 9. So I just kind of feel like he just kind of had to tinker with the injuries that he's had, and yeah, I'm not too sure. I feel like some of a personnel thing that it's been so inconsistent with the players that we've had available. We're just gonna have to make do with what we have.
Yeah, I think obviously it's very frustrating. I think Max gets a little blame for it because the manager always does, but I do think it's mostly down to personnel. And I thought after the Sassuolo game, when that article in Gazzetta came out when we were on retreat, and Allegri talked about players he was disappointed in, and it was like Kulusevski, I think Ramsey was in there, Rabiot, Bentancur, Keane.
I think Arthur as well was one.
Yeah, like, most of those midfielders, I just look at this being that I think that Allegri hopes he can flip one of them, but he hasn't yet. And that's why you keep seeing the double pivot, because it's just literally 2 midfielders, McKennie and Locatelli, have put in performances. And speaking of the midfielders, we're going to bring up one of my favorite players, quote unquote favorite players, Adrian Rabio. He was solid yesterday, right? And it's really frustrating because I think, I've never really believed this personally, but there is a thing where, he's always kind of been this guy that's like, the next big thing. Like, Carlo liked him. He played at PSG. He was a starter there. I think a lot of Juventini were excited about him, are excited about him. Raph, what's your assessment of Rabiot, and why is it that he's so Jekyll and Hyde? Is he just not good enough? Is it positioning? What's your assessment of Rabiot?
I feel like I genuinely feel like it's purely a mentality thing where he just has just a weak mentality. We saw it in that one specific clip that I'll never forget where the ball was kind of trickling to go out of play, and he was just walking. It was like, oh, it's gonna go off anyway. Chiesa just ran down the ball and got it before it went out. I think that's what I'm saying. I think it's literally just a mentality thing because you also have from two different coaches in literally not even less than 6 months that have both said um, Rabiot doesn't understand the potential he has as a player. We had Pirlo say it last season, and everyone was like, "What?" We had Allegri say it this season, where everyone was just like, again, thinking like, "What the hell? Like, why haven't we seen this?" Then we have performances like yesterday, where he's just kind of almost running the show in the midfield, and we just don't get why we can't get that weekly, which is just really frustrating. I mean, he has the physique, he has the skill set. When he gets the ball and he drives at the goal, like we saw it when he scored against Milan, like he's unstoppable. He's a freight train. If we could see that weekly, like we'd have a great midfielder on our hands. But I just feel like it's a case of it's very cliche, but it's a case of just a player I don't think understanding what it means to wear a Juve top, and it just kind of seems as if he doesn't care because when he's on it, and we see it. We see it every time before a summer where, the transfer market's heating up and he needs to make a name for himself. So in case he gets shipped out, he can go to a top club. I mean, we see the performances, but I don't know. I think it's purely just down to his mentality, and he just has a very, very weak mentality for a player.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. I think of Rabiot. I always think about the infamous World Cup story from 2018, where he refused his call up because he was going to be a reserve, and he didn't like that, or him or his mom. Somebody didn't like it, and he refused it. But I think you're right. I think the mentality thing is definitely something. It just looks like he isn't fully checked in. Tony coming in here saying this, and of course, throw a little jab at Luca, who he's always spaced out that one. You can't ever get him focused either. But so I think that it is down to mentality. I think that there could be a really great player there, and Rabiot, like if he could get into the box more, he could probably do a little bit more. He'd score a couple goals, maybe. We know he has goals in him. Get a couple assists. We saw it at times last year, but he just, for whatever reason, as everyone said, he kind of just phases out of matches here and there, and it's really frustrating because as we were talking about with the 4-3-3, we can't rely on that, right? And I think that it's not just a Rabiot thing, and the reason we bring it up is because there's a couple players like that. I mean, you could say Kulusevski's like that. There's an argument for Keane like that. There's an argument for Arthur, same kind of way. You do have to wonder some of these players' mentality and if that's what's holding them back. So I think that right now it's kind of more, if we play with three midfielders, it's a little bit of who's affecting you the least, right? Who's hurting you the least, and just kind of rolling with it. But I thought, for all intents and purposes, not to be too critical of Rabiot, he did have a very good match yesterday. Yeah. So I think that we need to give him those props and say, just that we're asking to see it more. Because it would be great if we could see it more.
Hopefully on Tuesday, because I feel like judging off that performance and the players that we have available, I feel like a 4-3-3 is very likely. And off the performance that he had, it would be silly to drop him for that game. So if he can carry that into the Chelsea game, like I'll be excited to see that game. As of now, I'm not very excited because I kind of feel like they're gonna steamroll us probably. But yeah, if he can carry that on to Tuesday, then please do.
Positive vibes only, Raf. Positive vibes only. We're only talking about the win right now. Positive vibes. Okay. We'll get to Chelsea before the end of the show, but yeah, I would agree. I think that game kind of suits him a little bit. His physicality, kind of what he's good at. So hopefully he's up for it, and hopefully he can help us get the 3 points because he's very good in that first tie as well. And Tony coming in. Don't forget, everyone. We're back on Tuesday for the Chelsea pregame and on the Wednesday postgame, which I will be on. So if you're not tired of me yet, you get me one more time this week. Okay, so moving on. Another topic of debate is goals, right? And I think that Juventus as a team, this is the first time they've scored 2 goals in a little bit, right? There were a lot of 1-0s at the start of the year. Obviously, I think some of that's down to the number 9 and Alvaro Morata, who's all over the place. That there are times where he won a couple penalties yesterday. I didn't think he had a bad game, but also he didn't really do much in terms of chances created. I thought Keane came on, was more effective, but Keane's had some injuries. Chiesa also only has a couple goals this year. Talk to me about Morata, the number 9s, and really offensively, like how can Juventus get more goals in this team? Because it feels like there's goals in this team, but they just aren't. They're not executing properly.
It's the same old story of Morata, man. We've even in his first spell at Juve, he wasn't a prolific goal scorer. He had the little Champions League run where everyone was like, okay, like maybe we can get something out of this guy. In that season, I think he didn't score more than 15 goals in all competitions. Same as the next season that he was here. It's the same old Morata. We kind of get a couple goals here and there that kind of seems to make everyone believe in him, and then he'll go 5 games without a goal, which is really frustrating. He's not a sharpshooter. He's not a player with the mentality to kind of persevere, even if things are going south. With goals, I feel like we're gonna have to hold out to very low scoring, scrappy wins until we can bring in someone like a Vlahovic maybe. But the best solution as of now, I don't know. I've always been campaigning for Moise Kean to start starting for us. I mean, he's had in the last, I think since Morata's spell at Real Madrid, I don't think he's ever had a season with more goals than Kean had last year, which is crazy considering Kean's only been playing since like 2019, and it took him 1 season as a proper number 9 to beat his best tally since he was since Morata was playing at Real Madrid, which is crazy. And I think he has the best minutes per goal ratio in our team. I think he has like 1 or 2 goals, but obviously the injuries has kind of been hampering him. I'm kind of hoping that we can, give Kean an opportunity rather than playing him as a second fiddle, considering that Morata's not even hitting goals himself. I mean, we can give other players a chance. Judging off his performance yesterday as well, he came off the bench, like he took the ball, he had initiative. He would, instead of kind of the way Morata would get the ball and kind of lay it off the players, Kean was like, yo, I'm going to get this ball, I'm going to turn a man, I'm going to drive at the goal, play a 1-2 or something, try a shot from outside of the box, inside of the box, just kind of create some danger rather than playing the safe layoff passes back to our players behind them. We need more of that. We need some more initiative going forward, because the only one that takes initiative is literally Chiesa. Kean came on yesterday and he was doing that himself. That's why we look so dangerous within the last like 10-15 minutes. We could have made it 3-0.
Is that down to the players, Raf, or is that down to tactics? Because on one hand, like I see this argument on Twitter all the time. We're in the 4-4-2, and that's keeping players playing behind us, right? The 4-4-2 is keeping Chiesa deeper, or maybe it's keeping us deeper. It's keeping us more pragmatic in terms of the style and the approach. Or is that just something that some of these players, like I look at the midfielders, don't really get into the box much unless it's Locatelli or McKennie, but the other ones don't. Is it something like that, or do you think it's a little bit of both? What do you think about that?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, it's not expected that we were gonna create less chances than Pirlo last season. I mean, it's Allegri that we're talking about. He's a very pragmatic coach until he actually gets the players at his disposal. I mean, we were the top scoring team in the country for at least three seasons where we had him, where we had guys like Higuain and Dybala firing up top. So I kind of feel like it's a bit of both, because I wouldn't doubt that if we still had Ronaldo, we'd have at least 6, 7, 8 more goals to our team this season. And I just think that's why we're so we're deep in the market for number 9 and hoping that we can get a Vlahovic in, because we don't have a goal scorer. Morata's never been a goal scorer. He's never been a player to hit over 15 goals a season. Like, he's never done that. And that's why I kind of feel like it's a bit of both, because even so, we have Dybala who's firing, he's scoring goals left, right, and center for us. I kind of feel like it's both. We have the tactics to kind of blame, but we know that we're not going to be creating chances in volume. But when we do create chances, we don't have a player that we can rely on to kind of tuck them away. Morata yesterday being an example.
Yeah, I do think you're right, because obviously we knew we were going to create less chances with Allegri. That's just how he is, right? That's the way that he plays. But it does feel like, and I hate to bring this up, when you lose Ronaldo, right? Like these pieces, Morata was always considered, even last year, an alternative to Dybala, right? But Dybala was hurt most of last year, so he had to play more minutes. Now this year, I think the idea was to be a backup to Ronaldo, or even the alternative to Dybala again. And then you lose Ronaldo, and now you're kind of just left with really like a substitute striker. So someone that you wanted to come off the bench to get you goals, start a couple matches here and there. And you kind of panicked. I think there are some good shouts for Keane. I think we'll see more of him once he gets fit, once he gets healthy. Allegri, he has a love-hate relationship with Keane. He gave him his debut, but he's very tough on him. He's always been very tough on Keane. So I think that, once they figure out, once they iron out some of the kinks there, I think the Keane can really give us something. Because like you said, he was great for PSG last year. Gave us a ton of goals. I do think part of the reason we're scoring less goals, and this is really important, Allegri traditionally gets a lot of goals from midfielders. It's just always been one of his best traits. You look back at the Milan days, those teams had a lot of goals. Some of our great teams, Khedira used to bang in goals all the time. Pjanic, Marchisio, Vidal, Pogba, all of them, goals from your midfielders, goals from people other than the strikers. Right now, we just don't have that. You have Locatelli, you have McKennie, but they play in a double pivot. That's why we mentioned Rabiot before, because if you could get Rabiot or even Bentancur, give us 2 or 3 goals, but just something more than what you've given in the past. I think it would really help this team. But now the emphasis is you have to create through Chiesa. You have to wait for Dybala magic. And there's just not really anything there. I would like to say for the Chelsea game, and we're going to preview that here in a second, I would like to see Keane in that game because we're going to play on the counter. And I think that really suits Keane. He's quick. He's physical. But again, I understand if they go with Morata. It's just kind of one of those things where we're trying to make do with what we can. And that's probably the thing to summarize Juventus this year is we're trying to make do with what we can, and what we have isn't the greatest. And it's very, very tough. So a little bit of a debate going on in the comments. Throw the Al in here from the All Juve cast profile that, giving Kyle Jorge some more minutes. I do agree with that in the league. I think we're going to see that towards the tail end, because our schedule is getting easier. Allegri has played him a couple times, more than I thought he would, to be honest, even if it's in cameo appearances. I didn't think we'd see him at all. But, the Keane injury kind of helped with that a little bit. John coming in here saying that he thought that Morata actually had one of his better games yesterday. I don't think that Morata, he didn't create a ton, but I thought that a lot of his movement was good yesterday. As I said before, but again, not great.
And the fact that he said that is sad just kind of shows the standard.
Yeah, that's true. He did throw that is sad. Yeah, sums it all up. Raph, real quick, Kyle Jorge, what do you think of him so far? Kind of what he's brought to the team. I know it's been cameos, and if he should get more minutes.
Why not give him more minutes? It's not as if we don't have a reason to. No one in the attack's been showing why they should be a regular starter. From what I've seen, he's kind of come in as a young kid and played as a young kid, just kind of being a bit, carefree and free to kind of, do what he wants. I hope we see more of him. I'm not his biggest fan, judging off, just his record in Brazil, but he's coming here. It's a new start for him. He's playing under a top manager at a top club. So if he has the mentality to kind of put in his brain that he's going to succeed and he shows it on the pitch, why not? I'd like to see him start maybe a game against a Salernitana or something, like a low league team, and build on it. I don't see a reason as to why we shouldn't play him.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he's given cameos this year. I think that Allegri's been very patient with him, as he is with a lot of young players. You really have to go through all the military training exercises to get into Allegri's starting 11 if you're a young player. But I do think that as that goes on, we will see him against some of these lower league sides, even if it's just like larger cameos where it's 30, 40 minutes. I think we'll see a little bit more of him. But he's definitely someone that, to keep an eye on as the season goes on, because I think Coppa Italia, things like that, he could have a part to play. And, I hope so, because he seems to be a very budding young talent. At least Allegri likes him. So moving in as we wrap this up, we have Chelsea midweek on Tuesday. It's a big game. It will probably decide who wins the group. Correct, Raf? I think it's a
we have one game after that, but it'll be a neck and neck running on the last game. I think it will just come down to goal difference.
Yeah, we have 14 outfield players for this match because Pellegrini and Kyle Jorge are not in the Champions League squad. As it seems, we'll be without Danilo, Chiellini, Mattia De Sciglio, Ramsey, Bernardeschi, and probably Dybala. So looking a little grim. Raf,
Mhm.
real quick, because you won't be on the pre-match pod. How would you line up for this game, and what do you think the keys going into that are, and what to watch for?
So going into the game, I'd go with the 4-3-3 that we played against Lazio. Especially in my opinion, the second half 4-3-3 that we played after Morata came off and we put Ken up top. So I'd kind of go for Szczesny at the back, obviously. Perin, no chance that he should start. Cuadrado as a right back, Pellegrini as a left back, unless Sandro is available. De Ligt and Bonucci, no brainer, they both start. Locatelli at the base. Based off of yesterday's game, Rabiot should start on the left with McKennie on the right. Chiesa as a left winger, Ken up top, Kulusevski on the right wing, and hit them on the counter. Use Keane's leg, use Chiesa's legs, use Rabiot's legs to just hit them on the break, because I don't feel like we're gonna go there and dominate. Chelsea have been playing a lot of front foot football recently. So I don't know, especially at Stamford Bridge, it's going to be difficult, but we can get away with a result. We did it in the first leg, we can do it in the second leg. So yeah.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of positive comments in here. Alex P with Allegri pulls out a point in this game, be as close to as a miracle as it gets. I think we can all agree with that. Anthony coming in here saying pregame notes for Chelsea: 1, park the bus; 2, pray. I think both of those, maybe sacrifice some goats, whatever you're into, whatever your God is, like age, I don't know. So we'll see. I'll come in here with, do we want hold up? Do we want to maybe link off and run them? I can't tell watching us play. Maybe we need 2 strikers, Morata and Keane, since we used the 4-4-2, which is kind of an interesting shout. I'll leave that up here real quick. Raf, what do you think about that in the 4-4-2, playing with Morata and Keane, maybe?
I don't know. It depends on how we use them, because if we just kind of have 2 number 9s that are just going to be, getting the ball and kind of laying it off, I think it'll be a bit stale. But if we can get Morata to kind of be a bit more of a false 9, with Ken kind of showing a bit more movement and kind of willingness to get in behind, and using kind of Morata to kind of drag a centre back out of position, it could work. But again, it will come down to who gets sacrificed in the midfield, because I'm not sure if Allegri would want to play with 2 flat wingers in Chiesa and Cuadrado on the wings. I think maybe Cuadrado might have to hit the bench, and I feel like Rabiot will be playing on the left if that's the case. And it also comes down to who's kind of going to be operating in the pockets, just behind the attack and in front of the midfield. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if Ken and Morata will work, but maybe if we can be a bit more of a counter-attacking team, I feel like it could work.
Yeah, I think I would like to see the 4-3-3. Excuse me. I think that third midfielder and Chelsea are going to be more healthy than they were last time. I think that was last time they were missing. Conte didn't play in that game. They're missing a couple midfielders. We could use the extra man in the midfield. I think, though, Allegri probably might stick with a 4-4-2, like in theory, try and play a little hybrid where it ends up being more of a 4-3-3. We'll probably see Morata and Chiesa up top. We might see Kulusevski down the right. I can't really think of who else could play down the right. We'll see Alexandro return to left.
I was going to say, I also feel like the one thing that might be stopping Allegri from playing both of them as number 9s is, especially in the Champions League at least, is who comes off the bench to kind of replace the striker, because Allegri always likes to kind of bring off some fresh legs. And if we play our only 2 strikers available, it will be a bit of an issue. Maybe in the league with Caio as a backup, we could see it. But I'm not sure if he'll gamble like that in the Champions League.
That's actually a really good shout. I keep forgetting that Caio's not in our squad list, which is a little frustrating, I think, for everyone. But it's a really good shout, because, again, we'd be down the number 9 at the end of the game if we needed a goal. And then that also brings up the debate where if you start Kulusevski in the match too, who comes off the bench to play on the wings, because Cuadrado is playing right back.
That's Allegri's time to bank on a youngster from the under 23s.
Yeah, is Soule fit? Tony's gonna have a fit, as we have a new hive, Soule hive. I'll be tweeting it all game if he gets some minutes.
Let's go. I'm ready to start that as well.
Yeah, and so another thing that I think we kind of touched on, and we have a little bit of time here. So the Danilo injury, and this is a real big problem for Juventus. I think there's a rumor coming out that he could be up for out to a month. It's not a knee injury.
Oh no, hold on, let me check. I'm gonna be hopeful.
Yeah, I think that Danilo it's a major loss for us. He's one of our more consistent players. It kind of if DeShilo could get fit, we could survive a little bit, but I'm a little worried about being down some numbers at the back. Raf, talk to me about the Danilo injury. What we can do in the short term to replace him.
The logical solution is just to play Quadrado as a right back and kind of ditch the hybrid formation, because Danilo is really the key in the hybrid formation, because he can play as a right back and a centre back. So I kind of feel like the logical solution right now is just to play Quadrado as a right back as he did last season, and kind of just tinker around with the team in front, maybe again carrying with the 4-3-3, or we have, but this is very unlikely because it's Allegri. We have the Winter in the under 23s, who's also a right back that can play centre back or the other way around, but he's also kind of one of those players that you can kind of tinker with and play a hybrid formation with. And I've heard talks that Allegri does like him and that he might feature into the team at some point. So I feel like he could maybe get a call up soon. And so I kind of feel like that could be an alternative if Allegri wants, or if he relies on, if he trusts in him, and if he wants to literally 100% carry on with the hybrid formation that he's been playing so far.
Yeah, that's actually a really good shout for De Winter, because he's had a very good season with the under 23s from what I've read about him. And I think at least, like we mentioned before, if we can get through Atalanta next weekend, there's some room for some of these players to get in, because we're just down so many players. You're right. I think that, Quadrado is the easy solution there. And we have to pray to God that Quadrado does not get hurt under any circumstances, because then we're in some real trouble. I saw a shout in here for a 3-5-2, 5-3-2, but that means that we'd have to play Rugani, which I don't think we'll see at all in the Chelsea game. I mean,
and he's literally our only backup centre back left.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good shout. I do understand where he's coming from, because we are gonna have to play on the back foot a little bit. But I don't know if my stomach would be okay watching Rugani play against Chelsea for 90 minutes.
And I think Lukaku's back as well. I don't want to see,
well,
because Lukaku, he's gonna be running away from Bonucci and De Ligt. He's gonna be like, you know what? Yeah, give me Rugani.
Yeah, I'm not even worried.
Around to, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, listen, Bonucci and De Ligt did very good on Lukaku last match, so hopefully we see a little bit more of that. John Stewart coming in saying De Ligt versus Lukaku will always be fun to watch. He's got a really good point. One of my favorite things about this fixture is, obviously Chiellini's hurt, but Chiellini, Lukaku, and De Ligt and Bonucci, they've had some really good battles over the last couple of years, especially in Serie A. So that's definitely going to be one of the points to watch. Chelsea, as you mentioned, obviously a little bit more fit. But going back to the Danilo thing, I don't. The other thing is they could do a back three, maybe with Sandro. I just thought of that.
That's if Sandro's available, because even he's like.
Oh, that's also a good point. Yeah, we really hard down everyone.
Yeah, he's going to be coming straight back from injury. I don't know if we should throw him in.
But then,
and also it comes down to, because I remember there was a quote that Allegri said a couple of weeks ago where if De Ligt can learn to play right centre back in a 3, then we'll probably use it a lot more often. And I'm not sure if Allegri has come to the conclusion that he can, considering that he played Danilo as a right centre back the other night. It just comes down to Allegri's valuation of De Ligt and whether he can play there, because Bonucci is always going to be the central of the 3.
What do you think about that De Ligt in the right center back, Raf?
He's De Ligt, so it's not as if he's going to play badly, but I don't know how Allegri views him in that position. I think it again comes down to the hybrid spot, and if he can cover as a right back, which I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really too sure.
Yeah, it's a weird one, because Danilo, even like Chiellini, back in the day when he was playing as the left center back, right? One of the things Chiellini does really well is when he presses, like he gets so high up the pitch for a left center back, he's always just eager to get forward. I think that might be maybe the one flaw there. De Ligt has some low key pace. You see it here and there. I mean, he gets beat 1v1, but sometimes you'll see him just hit a burst of speed, and you're like,
"Where?" He's a tank. He's a tank.
Where's that been? But I'd be worried a little bit about going forward. Although he was very good on the ball when he was on the ball at Ajax, so maybe there's something there. I don't know if maybe the league has changed a little bit of that.
No, there is, like he's very comfortable on the ball, but again, the Ajax system is completely different to ours. Like players there would be willing to just drive forward because they know they have like a very rigid possession based system where there'll always be a pass available. Here we just it's always kind of playing along the back line, maybe finding Locatelli here and there. It's either going out to the wings or relying on Locatelli to play forward, or Bonucci launching long balls forward. We don't really see centre backs kind of driving forwards as much. I don't think that's Allegri's style.
Yeah, that's true. It's really hard because I think we'll see it at some point. I think if Chiellini could come back, I think we'll see it at some point in this month that Danilo's out. Because they don't have many other options. But I'll be really curious to see that going forward, because if they could get a way to get him on the right side of the center back, we could maybe even play Danilo on the left side of a back three.
Yeah, I think he did it last season as well, so why not?
Yeah, it's definitely something that I didn't understand why Danilo wasn't even playing at left back beforehand as well. So I think that hopefully we'll see more of that. Hopefully he's not out for the whole month. Hopefully it's not as serious as it looked yesterday. That was a little concerning. One more thing going into the Chelsea game. Give me like one or two keys that you're gonna for Juventus to win that match. Like, what are the two things Juventus have to do to win that match?
I'd say a lot of it is going to come down to stopping Reece James and Ben Chilwell, because recently they've been the main goal threats for Chelsea. They've been, I think Reece James has like 2, 3, 4, 5 goal contributions in his last couple starts for Chelsea, and they use their wing backs kind of like similarly to Liverpool. It's a different system, but they love to use them going forward. So I kind of feel like the wing backs is going to be the key, and in terms of kind of us scoring goals, it's going to be stretching the back three, because they have a very rigid defensive system where they've only conceded like a couple goals in the Premier League. They're one of the best defenses in Europe, and kind of getting Chiesa to kind of penetrate like he did in the first leg, where he kind of would kind of be 1v1 with a Rudiger or Christensen and beat them for pace. So it's gonna just kind of be maybe stretching the back three and getting runners in behind. That's kind of why I really want Ken to play, so he can be that extra assistance to Chiesa, and Chiesa's not the only one kind of charging and running at defenses.
Yeah, I think that's a really good shout on both those. Chilwell and Reece James have been two of the best players in the Premier League in terms of fullbacks this year. They're incredible players. And I thought in the first leg we did disrupt them a little bit. We cut them out of rhythm a little. I don't think Chilwell started in the first game, but when he came on, we did feel that presence over there. I'd like to throw out that maybe Juventus, if they can disrupt that rhythm that Chelsea get into. I mean, Chelsea's a weird team. They kind of play like an Italian team, despite having a German manager. They're very good defensively. They score a lot of goals on the counter. They play with the back three. It's very weird to watch them.
Yeah, but the one kind of thing that I'm confident about is it all comes down to if Lukaku plays. If Lukaku plays, I mean, we have centre backs who know how to stop him. But in terms of their front three, they don't have like goal scorers. They have Havertz, who's been terrible this season. Then they have Mason Mount, who's kind of been a bit off form, and as a third player, they have either Hudson-Odoi or Pulisic, who aren't really known for their high goals and assists production over the last few years. So if we can, Lukaku will be the biggest threat, even though we know we have players that can stop him. But if he's not playing, then I'm not going to be too worried about us being, dominated by their attack. I feel like it's going to be more the wing backs, and if they get anywhere close to the edge of the box, that could be more of an issue than the front three. But we'll see.
Yeah, because they could obviously stretch us parking the bus too, which would not be very good. Raph, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to see you again, to have you back on. That'll do for the All Juve cast recap of Juventus versus Lazio. It was a big win for us. We're level with Lazio on points now. Hopefully, if Atalanta can drop some points, or they won yesterday, correct?
No, they steamrolled.
Yeah, they steamrolled their team. So we're gonna need a big result next week in the league. So
I think we still have Inter Milan who are playing tonight. So
Inter Milan, Napoli.
I don't know who I want to win that one.
That's a game that I'm hoping Tom Hardy's Bane shows up to, and they just abandon it.
That would be the best scenario in the end.
For anyone who tuned in, thank you for putting up with me as a guest host. Al, he said that he had technical issues, but I don't know if I believe that. He just, I don't know. He was just wanted to throw the kid in there for a little bit. But thank you everyone so much for tuning in. Like and subscribe to the video. Check out Stripe Hearts. Share with your friends. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Luventino on Twitter. Raph, pronounce your Twitter handle.
Section 80.
Section 80. I didn't want to mess that up. Follow the rest of the AJC team. They're great follows and they're great guys and they're fun to interact with. Ciao, everyone.
Take care, guys.